Could someone intentionally crash the stock market? You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. Stock markets are extraordinarily complex, and they're in countries around the world. At the end of 2012, the American Enterprise Institute estimated that the combined size of the world's stock markets was around $54.6 trillion. This labyrinthine, interlocking system seems to move in cycles, but if everyone could predict it, then why do so many people lose hundreds of millions of dollars every year? Is it just the whim of supply and demand, speculation, and billions of get-rich schemes butting intangible heads in the world of conceptual value? Or is it possible that someone, or some group, really can control the stock market? Here's where it gets crazy. It's technically possible. If a single group controlled enough of the world's assets, they could conceivably wield enough influence in a given exchange to drive a price up or down. Accusations of market rigging are almost as old as markets themselves, from the legends of Mayor Amschel Rothschild leveraging knowledge of Napoleon to concerns about large investment banks in the modern age. In the West, many of these theories center on the great stock market crash of 1929. In his book, Against Oligarchy, author Webster Tarpley claimed that the crash was the result not of U.S. bankers, but the British, via the Bank of England, waging economic warfare. Another theory pinned the 1929 crash on the Fed, which was often characterized as being a tool used by Rockefeller, Morgan, and other banking dynasties. Still another theory blamed the crash on banks working in concert with Franklin Delano Roosevelt to plunge the nation into chaos, allowing him to take over as a dictator, secularize the U.S., and further centralize the government. Today, little has changed in terms of accusation. Investment banks are usually the first groups accused of manipulating stocks, along with governments being a close second. Given the concerns regarding insider trading, monopolies, and market stability, agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission work to keep all the actors in the game honest. The SEC came about in 1934, and since then it's been, theoretically, policing the financial markets of the United States. The SEC also isn't seen as very effective to the average American. Given the work history of multiple SEC officials, their times at private banks, venture capitalist firms, and so on, it's easy to understand why outsiders would see this as evidence of collusion. There's no shortage of arguments on both sides here. Skeptics insist that manipulation theorists are often misinterpreting market information, connecting coincidences, and focusing on things that support their pre-existing beliefs. Multiple authors, activists, and theorists, however, insist that there's some method to the madness of boom and bust, something the rulers of the market don't want you to know.
Michael Lewis is not the first person to allege the stock market is rigged or that high-frequency traders are front-running the market. But he was the first to find Brad Katsuyama, who was the first to figure out how it was being done.
A very unlikely character, a trader at the Royal Bank of Canada, a young Canadian man named Brad Katsuyama, realized that the market that he thought he knew had changed. The market seemed to be willing to sell stock, but the minute he went to buy it, someone else bought it. The stock went up. It was as if someone knew what he was doing before he did it.